understood part of the comics industry where one comic book publisher will take a popular figure from the competitor's universe and make it their own. While they started off as copycats, many of these new characters have evolved over the years and become extremely compelling characters in their own right. With that being said, here are the top 10 Marvel and DC copycat characters. Number 10 is Batman and Moon Knight. There have been many discussions about who Marvel's Batman is. Some say Black Panther, Iron Man, or Daredevil, but my money is on Moon Knight. It would be Daredevil, but he wasn't created to be similar to Batman, but was instead rewritten by Frank Miller to be like the Dark Knight. So Moon Knight first appeared in 1975, nearly 40 years after Batman, and they share a surprising amount of similarities. Both are insanely rich, fight mostly at night, have no powers. Now Moon Knight used to, but he lost them. Practice vigilantism, prefer melee weapons and hand-thrown projectiles, operate out of a cave under their mansion, and have a variety of gadgets and vehicles based on their identity. Crescent darts to batarangs, and the Angel Wing to the Batwing. Even some of their aliases are similar, with Batman being known as the Dark Knight and the Caped Crusader, while Moon Knight is known as the Crescent Crusader and the White Knight. While there are some key differences, mostly with Mark Spector working for an Egyptian god, being completely insane, and killing people, there are similarities with too many not to have them on this list. So who's the better character? I think there's no debate. It's Batman.
I'm Batman.
Number 9 is Clayface versus Sandman. You could tell these two are similar just by looking at them. They also have really similar powers, both being able to mold and manipulate their sand or clay particles, shapeshift at will, alter their size, shape, and density. They're also both basically criminals, but this is where they also differ because Sandman decided to reform, realizing that he was unhappy with his life. He joined the Avengers and Silver Sable's Wild Pack, but was eventually brainwashed into turning back to crime. Clayface, on the other hand, has never deterred from his criminal ways. So who came first? Clayface was created in 1940, while Sandman wasn't created until over 2 decades later in 1963. But here's the real question. Who's the better character? Once again, the winner is Clayface.
See? I figured out how to manage this thing pretty good.
Number 8 is Robin and Bucky Barnes. Bucky both virtually fill the same role in comics, acting as the trustworthy sidekick for their larger hero, Batman and Captain America respectively. While Bucky was credited around the same time as the original Boy Wonder, with Dick Grayson being credited in 1940 and Bucky in 1941, he actually has much more in common with the second Robin, Jason Todd. For starters, both were killed off, with Jason being beaten to death by the Joker and Bucky being killed in an explosion. But it doesn't end there. They were actually both brought back to life in 2005 as villains opposing their former heroes, with Bucky turning the Winter Soldier while Jason became the Red Hood. Now they are no longer villains, but instead are anti-heroes fighting for justice in their own way. So Robin was created a year before Bucky, but who is actually the better character, Jason or Bucky? In my opinion, the better character is Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier.
Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
Number 7 is Brainiac and Ultron. Now Brainiac and Ultron are both remarkably intelligent automatons, depending on what version you're talking about. Both Brainiac and Ultron are able to replicate themselves and have the ability to control clones of themselves from afar. Both can control other machinery, can self-repair, and are incredibly powerful characters, being able to take on the Avengers or the Justice League of America all by themselves. So who came first? Brainiac was created in 1958, but he didn't start off as a machine, instead turning into a machine in 1964. However, that is still 4 years before Hank Pym created Ultron. But who's the better character? Ultron has evolved over the years and has become one of the greatest Avengers villains of all time. And what's even worse is that he's a villain that the Avengers created. Brainiac, on the other hand, does fight the Justice League, but is mostly relegated to being a Superman villain, and isn't even the greatest Superman villain at that. The better character is Ultron.
No. How could you be worthy? You're all killers.
Stark.
Jarvis.
I'm sorry, I was asleep. Or I was a dream.
Reboot. Legionnaire. That's got a buggy suit.
Terrible noise. And I was tangled in strings. Had to kill the other guy. He was a good guy.
You killed someone?
Wouldn't have been my first call. But down in the real world, we're faced with ugly choices.
Who sent you?
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Ultron.
In the flesh. Or no, not yet. Not this chrysalis. But I'm ready. I'm on mission.
What mission?
Peace in our time.
Number 6 is Aquaman and Namor the Submariner. The similarities between Namor and Aquaman are so obvious. Namor's parents were a boat captain and an Atlantean princess, while Arthur Curry was born to a lighthouse keeper and, you guessed it, Atlantean princess. Both of these Atlantean mothers fell in love with a land dweller who has an affinity for the sea. Both Namor and Aquaman are considered royalty and are the rulers of Atlantis, having lofty obligations and balancing the relationship between Atlantis and the surface world. Namor and Aquaman are above normal Atlanteans, with Namor being a mutant and Aquaman being considered a super Atlantean. They also have incredibly similar powers, both being super strong, able to communicate with sea creatures, having impressive durability, and are able to swim incredibly fast. So who came first? While Aquaman was created in 1941, Namor was actually created in 1939. Also, did you know that Namor was the first superhero with the ability to fly? He was flying even before Superman. But who is the better character? While most people either love Aquaman or love to make fun of him, the majority of the population know who Aquaman is, which is more than can be said for Namor. So for his cultural relevance, the better character is Aquaman.
Well ahoy, well ahoy, well ahoy, my friends. Hope your journey here didn't give you the bends. Any worry you had, here is where it ends. Look, Fluke's brought you a toy. Well ahoy, oh it's such a joy. Here's my darling wife and my bouncing boy. And that old black manta is bound to annoy. Aqualad is my decoy. The Curries of Atlantis are just like you and me. The only major difference is that they are royalty. Well ahoy, well ahoy, well ahoy, my friends. Have a chair over there and relax, my friends. You'll be entertained to the max, my friends. Well ahoy, well ahoy, well ahoy.
Number 5 is The Flash and Quicksilver. The Flash is the original speedster in the comic books, so there's bound to be copycats, most notably Quicksilver. They have virtually the same powers as each other, being able to run really fast, but they got their powers in very different ways, with Quicksilver being born a mutant and the Flash being struck by lightning and dosed in chemicals. However, it's not hard to see where Marvel got their idea from. Like I said, the Flash is the original speedster, being created in 1941, while Quicksilver wasn't created in 1964. But who is the better character? While Quicksilver has been getting a lot of love lately, having appeared in 2 extremely successful franchises, he can't compete with the fastest man alive. Flash is the better character.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
Number 4 is Darkseid and Thanos. Originally, Thanos was inspired by Metron. However, Thanos was later reimagined as a Darkseid clone. He was created by Jim Starlin and was supposed to be like the knowledge-seeking Metron, but his editor Roy Thomas said, if you're going to steal one of the new gods, at least rip off Darkseid, the really good one. These facts aren't even in dispute. Even Thanos' race of Titan Eternals was lifted in 1973 from the New Gods storyline that was published in 1971. It's undeniable that Thanos was a knockoff of Darkseid. But who is the better character? While Thanos is a powerful and menacing villain, he isn't necessarily the biggest Avengers villain or the biggest threat to the Marvel Universe. While Darkseid is usually considered the ultimate threat for the Justice League in the DC Universe at large, Darkseid is the better character. Number 3 is Green Arrow and Hawkeye. Green Arrow and Hawkeye are both the best archers for their respective universes, but this isn't just where their similarities end. Ollie and Clint both lost their parents. In order to survive, were forced to become adept with a bow and arrow. Both were trained in physical combat and have a natural aptitude with varying weapons. Green Arrow and Hawkeye would later go on to fight crime using their skill with a bow and arrow. Green Arrow is a member of the Justice League, and Hawkeye is a member of the Avengers, both being the heart of their team. Green Arrow was in a relationship with Black Canary, while Hawkeye was in a relationship with Mockingbird, who were also copies of each other. So who came first? Green Arrow was created in 1941, but Hawkeye wasn't created in 1964. But now comes the real question. Who is the better character? Well, Hawkeye's in great hands now with Matt Fraction. Before, he was just kind of the bow guy. Not a bad character by any means, but just untapped potential. Green Arrow, on the other hand, has what every great character needs, a compelling origin story. His story is a millionaire falls from grace after a trip gone wrong, in a savage island, and everything is trying to kill him. Through his experience, he realized he can make a difference and fight to make change. Hawkeye was just a fantastic archer who decided to become good. So Green Arrow is the better character.
To fight for this city. To be the symbol of hope that the arrow never was. I am the Green Arrow.
Number 2 is Deathstroke and Deadpool. There's no secret that Deadpool is similar to Deathstroke. The character was created as a parody of the Terminator. Deathstroke and Deadpool are both mercenaries and assassins. They're both morally ambiguous anti-heroes, and both were experimented on by the army, which gave them their extraordinary abilities. Both have a healing factor and like using guns and explosives, while they really love to use their blades if they can. On top of all that, Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool's is Wade Wilson. Thankfully though, Deadpool has evolved over the years and is now an incredibly original, fourth-wall breaking psycho with his own successful series of books and a hit movie. So while Deathstroke came first, Deadpool has greatly evolved over the years and has become the better character.
I'm never gonna win the Deadpool.
Captain Deadpool. No, just Deadpool. Yeah.
So before we get to our number 1 pick, I'll have to throw out some honorable mentions. Alfred and Jarvis. While Jarvis was an AI in the films, in the comics he was actually a longtime Stark family butler who remains with the family and serves Tony loyally after the death of his parents, even after he becomes Iron Man. So basically, Jarvis is a direct ripoff of beloved butler Alfred Pennyworth. While these characters are similar, there's really no question about it. Alfred is better. Justice League and the Avengers. The concept of team-up comic book series featuring standalone heroes was originally a format that DC played with for years, with teams like the Justice Society and Seven Soldiers of Victory, but their biggest success was the Justice League of America. It was a popular idea, and Marvel would go on to copy it with the Avengers several years later. While the Justice League was first, I'm not even going to try and say which team's better, just staying far away from that question. X-Men and Doom Patrol. Both of these ostracized groups were galvanized by human rejection and fear of the freaks. Yet both of these teams insist on using their powers for the greater good, and are actually both led by a brainy man in a wheelchair. While Doom Patrol is a few months before X-Men, X-Men are much more culturally relevant and are definitely the better team. So our number 1 pick is Superman, and Century, Gladiator, Thor, and Hyperion. Superman is the original superhero, so it's obvious that traces of him will appear in other characters, but some more so than others. Take Thor for instance. He's considered Marvel's heavy hitter and wears a red cape, but isn't incredibly similar to Superman. It does get worse though. Hyperion was originally a villainous reimagining of Superman, but now Marvel has redefined him as a baby that was sent from a dying world and raised by an ordinary couple who instilled him with a strong sense of morality, and Hyperion went on to be an incredibly powerful hero. Sentry is an extremely powerful hero, one who possesses the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns and wears a big S on his chest. And Gladiator's real name is Kal-El, which is actually a combination of Kal-El and Clark Kent. Kalark's power is almost exactly the same as Superman's, even with freeze breath and heat vision. So who's the best character? Well, I love all these characters, and Thor has become a much more commonly known hero in the past few years. Superman is the original superhero. There's really no contest here. Superman is the better character.